Hello, and welcome to What's Your Story. I have a great guest for you today. He's really a fun guy. In fact, he's been laughing at me for my bloopers that I've made. But my guest is Courtney. He's a professional photographer, an award-winning professional photographer, and he also is a teacher and an entrepreneur. So welcome, Eric. Good to have you here.
Great. Thank you, Judy, for having me today.
Well, if you'll quit picking on me, we'll have a good time.
Oh, we will.
So, Eric, what is your story? Tell us a little bit about how you got started in photography, and what sparked your interest, and what camera did you have first? Tell us about those things.
Oh gosh. Well, I was thinking about this when we were previously talking, and I've always had an interest in photography since I was a young kid. And I remember my mom, she had and I'll date myself a little bit here, but she had a Kodak Brownie camera.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah, with the crank film and all that,
yeah.
and you had the flash you hooked on. And I remember it had a little window that you pulled up to look through, and you snap photos. And I remember taking pictures with that, and then I remember taking, there was the old 110 cameras with the little tiny cartridges and stuff.
Yes.
And, it seems to me that I've always had a camera in my hand somewhere along the way. And then, of course, you go through grade school and high school. And then I remember in college when I was in Chicago, and I bought my first real 35 millimeter professional camera, and it was a Pentax K1000. And I was just so proud to have that. And I would go around downtown Chicago shooting photos, architecture in particular. But then I would also shoot the landscapes and people. And so that was, it really has, and then going forward from that, I've gone through various different cameras and now into the digital age, with our digital cameras that we have today. So, yeah.
Boy, I tell you, your work is incredible. But it was interesting because you were in the food industry before.
Yes.
And then you went from the food industry into full-time photography.
Yes. So I call it my previous life, is I was in the food packaging industry for 25 plus years. I started out filling hoppers of plastic resins to make bottle caps, and then I got into quality assurance, and then I got into R&D, and I got into a different company and developed a quality program, and then I got into sales. And that was just, it was absolutely just fantastic opportunities along the way. So that was my previous life. And then there was a series of events that happened, and one of them being we had a horrible, another bad winter in Chicago, and we had always decided, let's move southwest. And so, and I knew in the corporate world, the company had been bought out several times, and quite honestly, I knew my days were numbered. And I'd always wanted to pursue a profession in photography, and it's my passion. I realized that it was my passion. And so we had the opportunity to move to the Las Vegas Valley, and I decided to kind of reset and go after my passion in photography.
Yeah, I think I met you kind of when you first came, and I've always admired your work. Why don't we show some of your work to my viewers?
Well, let's see. I brought some of my more recent pieces that I have. Let me show. So this is one that I did. This is during the COVID shutdown, and went out to a place outside of Boulder City, and this is the Nevada state animal, the bighorn sheep.
That's amazing. And, beautiful.
An amazing photo because I've been out there several times, and they're always either fighting with each other, or they're eating, or just laying there. And this particular individual just sat and just stood there for I don't know how many minutes. And I had my one lens with me. I was maybe 20 feet away. And it was just a great opportunity to get a great picture of this particular one.
Well, it's a wonderful shot. I love it.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to paint that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's gorgeous.
This is another one that during the COVID area, so, stores were shut down for quite a while, and I love going to the Goodwill store or
fun.
any of the retail or the resale shops, because you never know what you're going to find. And this was, the stores had just opened. I went, and I found this little metal figurine, and made it into a face mask also, but then also just a fun little piece of art to kind of like, what's going on? This is the COVID times. So
yeah, we kind of need some something that makes us smile. That one made us smile. It's great. But tell us the one about the story, the one that has the story. This one, I love this one.
So this one, again, this was during the first few months. everybody was kind of shut down and locked in. And I think a lot of, just in coming out of this, I talked to other artists as well, is we just kind of went into a shell and nobody really had the ambition to want to create things, even though we had all this time. But, we spent all this time organizing our closets and doing all this other stuff. So what I did is I forced myself to get out and just, okay, I need like once every other week, I need to just go find a location and shoot. And one of the things with photography is I love my photos to tell a story. And so I was at this one location, and this particular piece, this is circa 1930, I believe, gas pump. But, as we know, we pump gas every day for our automobiles and whatnot. And I just thought it was an interesting photo because it kind of captures what was happening at that time, but it's also relevant to this time, too.
Yes.
It's just the gas stations are a little more modern, and they've got conveniences.
And the prices are a lot higher.
Yeah, the prices are a lot higher. I don't know what the price is on this one.
I remember when they used to be like 15 to 25 cents a gallon. I was a little kid then, but still.
Well, that was only a couple years ago, right? Yeah, so. But then going to another part of the site that I saw was just these electrical boxes that were on the side of this particular building. And I just thought it was interesting because how we are now becoming more and more reliable upon electricity, and then also going from the petroleum industry into the electrical industry as far as powering our automobiles that transport us around.
Now, I love that picture. That's a beautiful picture. Now, how many people would have seen that on the side of a building and thought, oh, that'll make a great picture?
Yeah,
most people wouldn't. You've got that creative eye that you just saw it and you went like, wow, that's going to be great.
Yeah, it's just when you see it and you frame it and then you process it and just, yeah.
I love it. I would hang that in my house. I think that's amazing that you would take a picture of electric plugs, and that it would come out so absolutely beautiful.
And it'd be great just hanging in someone's house, in a guest room, in a workshop or something like that.
It'd be a good conversation starter. That's
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, where's that from? And I also did win a first place award for this in digital photography at a recent art show. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. So.
Oh, you should be. They're beautiful. Yeah, they're beautiful. And tell about this one, because this is just fascinating to me that you could do this with what it is.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to just look for things that are just ordinary items, everyday items. And one of my photography professors that I had, believed in filling the frame. Mm-hmm. And his name is John Gittleson. And an amazing guy, and he really emphasizes, filling the frame with a particular item. So one of the things we explored in one of our projects was to find ordinary items around the house or maybe, at the store or whatever, and you could photograph them and just really fill the frame out. So this was just something that I saw. It was just an ordinary item around the house. Can I say what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's actually, people have thought it's balloons. People have thought it's, what else would you think?
M&Ms or
Skittles,
whatever those candies
some of the other ones. And it is from a container of sprinkles that you use on cake or coffee cakes or something like that.
That's amazing.
And I just saw it, and I set up my little photo booth and just spread them all out and got a real nice,
and it's
nice
such a colorful
photo.
Picture that you could put it in any room because they go with the colors that are there.
Yeah, it's one of the things I do. I just like things that make really bright, intense colors.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I did add my little artistic touch to this photo to give it that little enhancement, but I think it's fun and it's playful and also conversation starter too.
I remember when you did a few years ago it was in a competition that I had some artwork in, and it was buttons. You did one of just all kinds of buttons, and it was amazing.
That one I actually happen
you
to
have
have
it
today
with you?
Because I remember we talked about this before, and I said, I know Judy really had commented on this, so I made sure I brought it with today.
Oh,
so
I'm glad you did.
This is the actual.
Well, it's not buttons actually. What are they?
Well, they're buttons in that buttons on a bottle, if you will.
Yeah.
So or a button cap or a bottle cap.
Oh, a bottle cap. That's what it is. I was
So-
thinking it was buttons, but I just remembered it was something that other people wouldn't normally think to put all together and photograph, and I loved it.
Yeah. So do you want the story?
Yeah, tell the story.
Okay. So I was at a gallery. This was a little whiles back, but I was at a gallery, and I saw this big bowl full of all these colorful buttons. And as I mentioned before, I just love things that are really colorful. And I said, well, there's got to be a story behind this. And, as I mentioned before, I love photographs that tell a story. So the artist happened to be there, and I said, well, tell me about this. And she goes, well, I'm a nurse, and I work in a operating room situation. And she said, I prepare all the materials for people to be knocked out before their surgeries. And she goes, these are actually like the caps, if you will, of the medicines that are used to knock people out. And she goes, I saved all these things over the years, and just because they're fun and they're colorful and they have a date on them and they tell a story.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. But I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, you also do some black and white things, don't you?
Black and white photography. I have another story for this one in a minute, but one of the things that I think just absolutely is amazing living out in the Southwest is you could be in the energy and heartbeat of the Las Vegas Strip.
Yes.
And half an hour away, you can be in the middle of
nowhere.
Middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah.
You go to Hoover Dam, and then you go another 10 minutes beyond that, and you could just be in the middle of the desert, and there's like nothing around. And but there's so many other things to explore around the whole area. So what I love is just getting lost out here. Make sure you have a full tank of gas, water, and all that other good stuff. But sometimes it's fun just to take a side road wherever you're going to go. So one time we were going down to Palm Springs, and there's many different ways you can go to Palm Springs from Vegas, as you know. And we just happened to be going along, and we're on this flat road, and it's just there's the railroad tracks, and there's just nothing for miles. And you're like, where is this? And we got to go over the hill, and it's like, it takes you an hour to get there. But we're whizzing along, and all of a sudden I see something in the horizon, and after a while you're kind of like, you rub your eyes. It's like, is it a mirage or not? And as we got closer, I said, stop the car. It's a great photo opportunity. And it turns out you find these things in the middle of nowhere, and it's called a shoe fence. And it's just this shoe fence that just has hundreds and thousands of pairs of shoes on it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And then there's this little thing that it looks like an old gas station that's there. And it was just really cool. So anyway, this was one of my, it's become kind of my signature photo, and one of the ones that I took there, and it's called Lost Souls.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's kind of a play on words in that Lost Souls, but
goes with shoes.
Has the shoes that are on there. And
now, who on earth would go put shoes up on a post in the middle of the desert?
Who knows? Because on either side of this location, there's like nothing for like 100 miles either way, and these people come from wherever, to do all this. So this was taken 3 years ago, and I'm curious to go out again to see what it looks like a couple years later, because I'm sure it's changed. Because as we know, the desert heat and sun is pretty harsh on products. So need to get out there again after get the COVID thing over with.
Yeah, it seems like such a strange thing to put way out in the desert. But,
yeah.
But we find interesting things out in the desert. Some people go out and paint rocks and make them colorful.
Yeah, you see all sorts of, like on this particular road, I mentioned that there's railroad tracks, and there's rock arrangements all along for just like that 100-mile stretch. It's crazy, and it's like these people, who knows,
It's just something to do, I guess.
Yeah, it's just something to do, I guess. It's you need to look on the map, and it's like, okay, there's nothing. So
yeah. So what is your favorite thing to photograph? I mean, is there a type of photography that you like best, or what?
The one thing that I really have come to enjoy is doing pet portraits or pet photography.
Oh, really?
And it's fun because pets generally pretty much they don't know what a camera is, but we think they pose, but I think they do kind of pose, and they know what's going on, especially in today's world with the selfie thing and all that. But they're very uninhibited. They don't talk back. They're not worried about what they.
Do they sit still?
Some will. The older pets and stuff just kind of But you get the young puppies and stuff, and they will to a certain point. It all depends, And sometimes you have to get the owners to hold them and whatnot, so you can get that special shot. But it's just a lot of fun, and pets don't they don't worry about the end product. They don't worry about what they look like or anything. They're just there to have fun. They want the attention.
Having to fix their lipstick and comb their hair.
Yeah. Even though the owners do, some get really meticulous about it. But
that's funny.
But it is fun to do. But, I like all genres of photography, but there are some of them that are more fun than others. So
yeah. Well, I took a class from you, and you're a very patient instructor. That always fascinates me because I teach art, and sometimes I want to say to people, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. But everybody's art is their own art,
Yes.
and photography is an art, and it's everybody does it different.
It is one thing that I've learned is, prior to moving here, I was very private about my photography. I would do family stuff and all that. And then I got involved with a few different galleries out here. And everybody thinks that, if you and I were to go out and to go take a picture of this in the middle of the desert, mine would look one way, yours would look totally different.
Yes.
And photography, everybody thinks everybody can snap the same photo of something. And I'm involved in some of these photography groups, and I've been out with other photographers and stuff. And we will go out and we will all be looking at the same thing, and all of our photographs will be totally different. And that's the artistic style that goes into it. It's the same thing when it comes to, when you do your oils, or an artist does acrylics or whatever. Everybody's got their different style. And it's at the point now where I can walk into a gallery and I can say, oh, that's Gina's, or that's Judy's art, without even looking at the name tags. Or, that's Chris's art, or that's John's photos, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've even had people come to me and say, hey, I saw some of your photos at and I didn't know you were in that gallery, because they knew my style.
Yes.
And after a while, you become your own.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
It's kind of nice that people start to recognize your work before they even see the name.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
And it's funny you mentioned that before about a couple pieces that you've seen of mine. You said, I know that's Eric's because that's his style of photography. So
yeah. What else is there about you that you would like to share with people, and about your work?
Well, the one thing I want to just kind of, there's a lot of people that want to get into photography and stuff, and they're afraid to do so, or they, it's very easy to judge yourself against others. When I first got into that, I was like, oh, and I entered some awards. You have to be ready for criticism. You're not always going to win an award, even though your friends and your parents might think you have the best stuff in the world. But the judges may see differently.
Yes.
And so you just have to put yourself out there and be ready for it. And I tell people too, I said, when you enter a competition, don't ever expect to win an award. But when you do, be happy and thankful. And I remember when I won my first award, it was like when you get your first dollar in business, you put it up on the wall and all that. And it was an honorable mention. But it meant the world to me. I could almost tear up right now. But it was just so cool because all of a sudden I recognized. And then when you sell your first piece, and somebody buys your first piece, and especially when it's somebody you don't know, that comes in off the street and they say, oh my gosh, I love that photo. And then you get a commission check, and it's even better. It's like,
I know. It's wonderful, isn't it?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, I wanted to mention is try different things. And one story I'll share with you real quick. So I showed you the piece before about the caps, and I had entered this into a competition, and not really expecting to win anything, but I didn't, and I said, okay, fine. So what I did, just trying something different, is the next year it was the same photography show, same exact judges.
Oh, wow.
But I entered it into a different category, and I entered it into black and white. And I changed the mat. And wouldn't you know it, it didn't win in the other category for standard photography, but it won first place for black and white.
Wow.
So it goes to show you that sometimes you just change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just have to be creative and try new things, and that's the key thing. So yeah.
I read an article the other day that said creativity helps your emotions, that you have to be creative, and if you are creative, it will keep you from being depressed, keep you from being sad and upset. And maybe that was something during the pandemic that some people should have explored a little more, is how to be more creative. Maybe some people could get more involved in photography or art or something so that they didn't get down. Do you find that your photography helps you to feel like you're doing something and it's bringing happiness in a way?
It very much so. I mentioned before that, and I talked to other artists as well, and I said, I need to I don't need to worry about how organized my office is or the closet is. I said, I got to get my photo booth out, and I've just got to photograph things and have some fun. And I started just grabbing stuff around the house and just, goofy things. And I found that when I did that, I was not focused on what was going on TV, and I got back into my creativity groove, and I felt great. And I shared that with some other people. And I said, just pick up your camera and just start shooting photos,
Yeah.
And then once it was safe enough to go out, then we got a couple people together, and it just felt so good to just go. We went down to Fremont Street.
Oh, that's a place for
photography,
isn't it?
It was a lot of fun, but it was right when things were kind of starting to open back up, so there weren't like tons of people around, and it was like, okay, you didn't have to tell people like, get out of my picture.
Yeah.
And it was just fun, and we just had a fun day. And so I agree with that yeah, just, doing that and getting back into your groove, so to speak, it changes your energy.
It really does.
It does.
When I had cancer, the doctor told me to start painting. That's when I started painting.
Yeah.
And I found a whole new world for myself, and it kept me from thinking about being sick because I was involved in doing and creating. And so when I read that article the other day, it was like, wow, if people could just really express their creative self, and it doesn't matter if it's photography or art or sewing or cooking, it's being involved in something where you're creating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
aren't you an officer or somebody at City Lights Art Gallery in Henderson? Don't you you're a big shot there, in other words. Yeah.
Well, I was president for a couple of years, and then there was a 2-year limit on that, so I took a year off. And but I am still very actively involved with the gallery, and I'm a member at large. I help out with some of the day-to-day activities, and I like being involved in that. And it's a sense of community. It's a great little gallery, great people, tremendous amount of just amazing art.
I think it's a big secret. I don't think everybody in Las Vegas knows that
No.
we have that wonderful art gallery in Henderson.
It's a hidden little gem, and
Yeah.
there's been many a time when I've been in there and people are like, we just looked up art galleries and we didn't know you were here, and I've lived down the street for 30 years,
Yeah.
And so
And
now
there's
they know.
so many incredible local artists that show there.
There are.
I
yeah.
saw a piece the other day. It was all metal sculpture, and it was just the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. This lady took all kinds of articles you wouldn't think would go together and put them together and made this.
I know exactly which piece you're talking about, and I was just absolutely amazed because that particular artist, she's known for her acrylics and watercolor, and then she brought in this big, beautiful, and so I got the story behind it, and it was like, this is absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you do other types of art yourself?
Pretty much I've stuck with the photography. The one thing that I thought about exploring is how I can take my photography to the next level by maybe embellishing some of the prints, making them more, perhaps making these more three-dimensional, and some other creative ideas. So that's one of the things with photography that I found is no matter how much you know, and even if you talk to master photographers or you talk to whoever, they're always learning new things. It's something that is constantly changing, and there's new techniques and there's new technology that's coming out.
That's one of the things I love about photographers and artists is because they're always learning, they're always experimenting, they're always searching for something new to photograph or to photograph the same thing in a different way.
Yeah. And and I've kind of stuck my head in on some of the classes at City Lights, and I've seen where you teach and some of the other teachers like, today we're going to try a different technique to get the paint onto the canvas, and it's just, I don't know the words right now, but it's not just using a brush. You
right.
Use
Sometimes you use a knife,
or all sorts
or
of
you
different
pour
techniques.
it on or something. Yeah.
And there was even one artist the other day that was at the jury show reception. He was talking about how he uses straws. And blows the paint onto that's just absolutely fascinating. So that's one of the things that I've thought about, like how can I maybe take some of my photography and take it to the next, make it something different.
Yeah.
So and that's another thing too, is just learning and stretching your creativity and watching other people and learning from other people too. Yeah.
And what about teaching? Can people? Oh, my mouth isn't working. Sorry, Eric.
Oh no, that's fine.
If somebody wanted to get in touch with you and maybe learn about how they could be a photographer, could they do that? I mean, would you be willing to teach
Absolutely.
people?
You know, I'm always willing to get together with people, or even just, with the magic of Zoom nowadays, you can connect with anybody around the world, and I have done that with people. And, hey, just call me up, let's just talk, or a friend of a friend will, hey, they want to talk to you for 5 minutes about buying a new piece of equipment or what kind of lens should they get. And I don't know it all, but I can certainly give good guidance because there's always constant change in there. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of me, my email is edcerickdavidcourtney856@gmail.com. And then also you can find me on my website. It's through fineartamerica.com and just search for Eric Courtney. And I'm also on pixels.com. And there's several of my examples of my photography that I've done. There's also a bio about myself, and then you can contact me there too. So
great,
yeah,
great. Well, you know what I like about Fine Art America? Your artwork is there, but they can actually put your artwork on all kinds of products, right?
Oh my goodness, yes, they can do.
So we could buy a cup or a phone cover or a light switch cover or something that's actually your picture.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I've even done face masks. I should have had them. I have them over there, but actually, the face mask which was a big popular item, and can I
grab one? Yeah,
okay.
Why not? We'll just show it. I'll entertain while you're getting your mask.
Sorry about that. I should have my other props.
No,
but,
that's okay.
This is the one I showed you earlier. The one with the little thing that I bought at the store.
Oh, that's the little cartoon character that
yeah,
you
that's the
photographed.
cartoon character one.
Oh, I see.
This is one of automobiles that I shot.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of a fun one,
Yeah.
And then this was one. It's called the King Vulture. I don't know if you can see it. It's the King Vulture.
Oh yeah,
that
put
was
it
taken
on.
down
Let's see it on you.
There we go. Here's what I also found out is when you're traveling or something. These make a great cover up.
Oh yeah, you can go to sleep.
You can go to sleep. So
Yeah.
little eye
Be
shades,
sure
too.
you're traveling on an airplane or a bus, not in your car.
No, not while driving.
That's
But,
great. Those are fun.
Yeah. So and there's a zillion other products that they have out there, from you mentioned coffee cups to even yoga mats,
Blankets,
cell phone
pillows.
covers, pillows, bed sheets, shower curtains. I've had people buy shower curtains, and one of them was the big thing. It's just their whole entire shower curtain is this big, huge,
Oh, how fun!
And they people are fun because then they send you a picture. They can contact you through
Yes.
the website, and they send you a picture and say, hey, I just want to let you know what this looks like.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah. It's a great outlet. So, and the beauty of it is you don't have to invest in a large inventory.
Yeah.
It's custom made on demand.
So when they order it, then it's made and sent to them.
It's custom made.
Yeah.
For that order. So.
Yeah, I was looking at it because I thought this would be a good place for my art. Look at all the different things that people can buy.
Your stuff would be
yeah,
stunning on there. Yeah.
So I thought that would be really, really fun. Now, who inspired you? Who got you into photography and made you believe you could do this?
In thinking about it, Ansel Adams.
Ansel Adams, I loved his
one of the
work.
most well-known black and white photographers in the world, and I've always been inspired by him because you look at his photography and then you read the story.
Oh yeah.
And there's one I have in the house, and I've had this print for years, and it's a reminder of why I like photography so much. And so the story behind it is, it's a picture of the San Francisco Bay before the bridge, and him and his wife would sit in the house in the morning. They had a house that would view the San Francisco Bay. Not sure exactly where it was at, but he would watch because he knew the bridge was coming, and he knew that once the bridge came, it would never be the same again. So he wanted to capture the perfect image of this. So he would sit there and watch in the morning. And one morning, the clouds were just a certain way. And if you look it up, you can find the story. Mm-hmm. Clouds were a certain everything. He grabbed all his gear and he ran down to the point he already had spotted out, and he snapped a photo of it. And it's just a really great photo because it just shows that will never be there again
Yes.
unless they get rid of the bridge. And
Yes.
even if they get rid of the bridge,
It won't be the same.
It still will not be the same.
Right.
And that's why you look at some of the photos, like Lost Souls. I'll never see this image again. It'll never be there. One of the things I like to do when I create a piece of art is I like to photograph it and then I destroy it so that nobody else can photograph it. So that's one of the things that I like to do. In this particular case, I photographed the caps, but then I mixed them all up afterwards.
You shook up the bowl.
Shook up the ball. So, but as far as inspiration goes, yeah, Ansel Adams. I mentioned before my photography professor, John Gittleson, was a big inspiration, as well as some of the other professors that I had. They give you different ways to look at things.
Right.
So
I think that's one of the great things about art and photography. You study with different people, and they teach you something totally different from anybody else that had ever taught you before, or you try something different, and it's new. And I love to get different people's perspectives on how to do things. Yeah, I love being a lifetime learner. I think lifetime learning is so important.
I think it's incredibly important, and that's one of the reasons why I like photography so much, because every time I go into a camera shop or I look online, I was even researching buying a new lens recently, and all the things that it can do, and in some ways it kind of takes you down the rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, you're 3 hours into it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to eat lunch. But you just learn so much, and it's like, oh, they do it this way, or they use this lens for this, or I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
and, it's a lot of, it's always a learning experience.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful having you here today. You've been fun, as always.
Well, thank you, Judy. I appreciate it. It's always a joy being with you and talking.
Tell my audience again how to get a hold of you.
Okay, it's Eric Courtney, and my email is edc, 856@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Fine Art America. Just search for Eric Courtney. And you can also find me on pixels.com and just search for Eric Courtney.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
You're quite welcome. And thank you for joining us today. And if you have a story that you'd like to get written, stay tuned. We have an offer for you. Do you want to write a book, but you're not sure where to start? Well, what better time than now? You can learn how to plan, write, and launch your book in just 4 weeks. Writing and publishing a book can give you huge exposure, and when done right, will help you establish expertise and authority in your market. When it comes to creating and launching your book, it may be tempting to just dive into the world of writing and publishing, but this can leave you feeling scattered, uncertain of your message, and overwhelmed by your to-do list. This is why so many people give up and books go unpublished and stories go untold. Planning is the answer, and that's exactly what this e-course will help you do every step of the way. When you have a plan in place for how you'll write, publish, and market your book, the process is much more enjoyable and achievable. Go to my website now, judymorio.com. That's JUDIMOREO.com, and learn how.